This once classic BBC Kids show, Horrible History, used to be fun. Gory history lessons, now it's dropping songs claiming black people always been in Britain, turning Florence Nightingale into a racist villain, and even admitting some actors have done blackface for ancient Egyptians. This isn't education anymore. It's whitewashing the past to force modern diversity onto every page of history. In 2026, with the BBC still funded by your licensing fee, why are they rewriting British achievements and turning national heroes into bigots? Let's break it down. Today, we're looking at how the BBC, especially Horrible Histories, is whitewashing and distorting British history for ideological reasons. We'll hit the biggest examples, the backlash, and what it means when the taxpayer money is used to teach kids a guilt-tripped version of the past instead of the real one. The Been Here From The Start song, the diversity myth in 2021. Horrible Histories released a song called Been Here From The Start, a catchy tune claiming black people have always been in Britain. It starts with the Cheddaman, a prehistorical skeleton with dark skin reconstruction, jumps to the Roman towns of black soldiers, and fast forwards to modern diversity. The message: Britain was never white, stop complaining about immigration. The song went viral for rewriting history, with Nigel Farage calling it, in quote, BBC lying, and demanding defunding. When it came down to Cheddaman with the fact-checking, Cheddaman's dark skin is based on DNA, but ancient Britain was overwhelmingly European genetically until much later waves. Roman legions did have auxiliaries from Africa and Middle East, but there are tiny minorities, not the norm. The song massively exaggerates to push diversity from day one. The BBC defended it as historically accurate, with a true factor, but critics say it's propaganda, making it history fit today's politics instead of facts. Viewers also accused the BBC of whitewashing by inserting media into modern diversity into pre-modern eras, making history feel like propaganda. And to do with the Florence Nightingale racism row and other controversial sketches, one of them of the West was in 2014 sketch where Florence Nightingale is shown as racially discriminating against Mary Seacole, rejecting her nursing help because she's Jamaican. The scene implied that Nightingale was a bigot. Hundreds complained and said it was insulting and totally fictional. Nightingale actually praised Seacole in letters and supported her work. The BBC Trust upheld the complaint, calling the racism accusation very serious and inaccurate. The sketch was pulled from online and never repeated in full. The other issues was that in 2020, a complaint about racism in Horrible History sketches led to a BBC response, and actor Matthew Byington made in 2022 that portraying ancient Egyptians with spray tans might be seen as blackface. The pattern was that the attacks on the British icons exaggerated minority roles and the downplay of traditional history. So why does this matter in 2026? Is it propaganda or is it harmless fun? The BBC's pattern, attacking the empire, exaggerating minority roles in early history, and downplaying British contributions feels like whitewashing to push multiculturalism. In 2026, with debates over defunding the BBC, with Reform UK pushing it, these shows shape kids' views, historically as a guilt trip rather than pride. Fact checks show inaccuracies, like Nightingale's sketch was wrong. Diversity claims often stretch evidence. It's not just Horrible Histories though. Similar in other programmes like Doctor Who or dramas, my take here is that it's deliberate whitewashing funded by us, and it's time we called them out. And this shows that the true factor defence falls apart under scrutiny. Many sketches prioritise agenda over accuracy, fueling calls for BBC reform. And with no major 2026 updates, the controversies just linger, proving that the BBC hasn't learned anything. So anyway guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video about me talking about DEI, and especially to do with Horrible Histories, which as a kid, I really enjoyed this show where basically it would talk about different parts or events in history. And obviously, back in the day, it was probably a lot of it was propaganda. And obviously, a lot of the show did exaggerate a lot of the things. You know, it's called Horrible Histories, where it showed a lot of the horrible stuff. But I think that it was meant to be hyperbolic, just to be fun, learning about history, and nothing to do with, I guess, the propaganda. But obviously, to do with the modernity of, I guess, modern TV shows, and especially all the slop that's pushed on nowadays, I do think that a lot of the things where, you know, the BBC obviously is just propaganda. And, you know, to do with the TV licensing as well, I've heard that apparently they're trying to make it now that, oh, you have to have a TV license for Netflix, which are basically, to do with the TV licensing, basically you have to pay for propaganda, which, you know, I don't know why anyone has like a TV nowadays. It's basically just like having like a Jew in your living room. So, but yeah, I think when it comes down to this propaganda is that, you know, when I've also covered things like Cheddarman, I think that it's also important to look at a historical basis of that, but Black Britons or whatever weren't actually like Black Britons. It was just like a hyperbolic, and also to do with the false positive with DNA. And especially when I covered Hitler's DNA test and how old the sample is, and also to do with all the things of percentile versus percentage, and also to do with Terry King was misrepresented by that documentary, and also the mistake she made when actually conducting research or a deep dive into Hitler's DNA. And, you know, I think it's important to understand how this propaganda works, especially if you're like a really young kid and you're watching this stuff and you're looking at all of like, oh yeah, we was all black once or something. Like, I remember in high school where I basically, I think this one girl, she said like, oh, we've always been black or something. And it's like, it's always been propaganda to do with like Cheddarman. But yeah, I think when as you get older, you start to notice a lot of bull. And as well, if you want to look at these videos here where I've talked about other aspects in this, including Cheddarman and also to do with history with Britain, I talk about those a little bit more in detail. And before I click this video, I've linked in the description below links to my other socials and also my Discord as well.